this is more Scott Portmaster. Not just for him, but just in response to, some of these ideas. One of your posts, the first one I caught, the one that made me want to respond was, about that government has to do a certain amount of things. If we want to have a civilized society, government has to do certain things, and that's true, that's so true. But the founders said, and I believe, that those things were very limited. People like Thomas Paine and John Locke wrote, and our founders based the country, on these principles. They wrote that freedom and security were the two jobs of government. No more and no less. If you're not free and you're not secure, you cannot have a civilized society. But if government goes into doing more than freedom and more than security, you begin infringing on people's liberties within that society. So you brought up the private fire departments, private police departments. Now I would say police departments go very much hand in hand with freedom and security. I think that's a legitimate function of government. Fire departments are generally conceded as a service that the public provides, that the government provides to the citizenry. But if you think about it, even that could be well done by private people, and in fact it is. There are tons and tons and tons of fire departments across this country that are strictly volunteer, and people band together. There's no government edict that says fire services will be provided in this area, but people know it's for their own good to protect themselves against those fires and things like that, and to have a unit on hand to respond to those things. And you have a high volunteer rate in areas like that because people know that there's nothing to fall back on. There's no government service that's going to save them. So they do it basically themselves without government. That already happens in this country. But, John Stuart Mill wrote, when he wrote about political economy or economics, he was famous for being a free market thinker. But he made one notable exception in his philosophy, and that was the example of the lighthouse. And he said it was used as a community good, and that therefore the public should pay in for the lighthouse because the community on the harbor needed to be protected from ships incoming, and the ships that provided the jobs and whatnot for that area, they needed protection from running aground. So that was always a notable exception that he made. Well, economists, seeming to have nothing to do as most of them do, they actually went and studied this, and they found private lighthouse companies that rented space in the harbor and charged the ship owners, a certain fee for every time they docked and departed from the harbor for their lighthouse fees, and it was collected through the shipping fees that the harbor would collect. And they ran them for profit, and they ran them cheaper than a lot of the public ones were run. And no one that didn't use them was forced to pay for them. You didn't take from somebody that didn't benefit from it in order to benefit even a majority of the community, if the majority of the community was benefited. And the ship owners didn't mind paying the fee because they knew it was an important service. It was basically cheap insurance for their ships, at least in the area of running aground, and so they paid it. And so somebody that did something productive for the ship owners, they were rewarded with profits. And you didn't have to take from other people that didn't receive a benefit. The firehouse could easily be the same thing, You sign up, we have neighborhood associations now, people that band together to provide services that are considered mutually necessary for all members of the community. And a firehouse could be no different. You could have a certain, small fee added to your mortgage company, to your mortgage payment that would, pay portion of the fire services for there to have a firehouse and staff and a chief and engines and everything. And, you know, I guarantee you that private firehouse would run for a profit and it would serve the community. Because if it didn't serve the community, it would go out of business. Right now, if you have a firehouse that doesn't do a very good job, they still continue to exist because there's a law that says they have to exist. You'd have a better job by the fire, better response times, better, you know, equipped employees and everything else with the firehouse. That was private because they're not guaranteed to survive if you don't. Imagine, you know, fire teams open up for competition and one fire team on the other side of town says, we can respond to accidents faster. We can save more lives than this fire team over here. And you have the option to switch back and forth. It would force the one on your side of town to compete better, to save more lives, to have faster response times. They could charge through the mortgage company, just like your escrow for your taxes and insurance does now. Insurance is a private matter. It's private companies that escrow through your mortgage payment. The firehouse could easily be done the same way, and it's already done. Basically, with homeowners associations and things like that, it would be no different. Those entities provide services, but operate for a profit, you know, and the firehouse wouldn't have to be any different. You know, we can do a lot more than we think we can do, and we have done. You know, back before Social Security, we had these mutual insurance societies. That's what the Elks Lodge and you know, the Masons and the Shriners, they did a lot of that. They collected dues, and then they paid for people when they got sick. I mean, now we say we have to have Medicaid and Medicare care for one another. It's amazing what humans can do when left to be free. We can do things so much better for ourselves than the government can ever do for us. So much better. But we have to be left free to do it. And now we've grown up 2 or 3 generations of people that don't know any better than the government's going to provide for your retirement. They don't know any better that, you know, if you're out of work, the government's going to step in and save you. They don't know that people can help people. They don't know that if you're poor and you need insurance, you know, there are other options besides Medicaid and Medicare. A whole network of charity hospitals in this country has been put out of business by Medicaid and Medicare. And it's sad because we're raising a whole generation of children that don't know the power of human cooperation. And we've done it in this country. We've done it in this country, and I want to go back to it because it's the only system that is fair and leaves people free and does not force people to pay for something that they receive no benefit from. It's the only system that doesn't rob people that have done something productive and give to people that have not necessarily done anything productive. So let's keep that in mind. That's what I think our society should be